This is absolutely great, guys. So I'm going to keep my part pretty light here. I just wanted to introduce Sean and Sam here, and I'm going to kind of let them lead the way here and introduce their charity and the different things that they're doing together, and kind of go from there. But if you have any questions, throw them in the chat or just raise your hand, and we'll give you the floor. And we'll start with Sam here.
All right. Thank you, Keith. And this is truly an Ask Me Anything or Ask Sean Anything. And I truly mean that. There is nothing too personal to share here. Any questions that you have, please throw them our way because we really want to be able to answer anything. So truly ask us anything. So many of you who are on this call already know me, and I know you, and I already have great friendships and relationships with you guys. I'm Sam Morris. I'm the founder of a coaching practice called Zen Warrior Training. And 22 years ago, a little over 22 years ago, I was in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. I had just finished cycling across the United States, leading a group of 9 teenagers on a 3,800-mile camping adventure. And only 2.5 months after completing that adventure, I was in a car wreck, and it left me paralyzed from the waist down, and I have been paralyzed from the waist down since then. Now, one would think that not having the ability to walk, not having one's normal sexual function, not having one's normal bladder and bowel control and sensation, that would be bad enough. That would be kind of pretty harsh. But to be honest with you, that has been relatively an inconvenience compared to the real issue, which has been suffering from chronic pressure ulcers. Now, what chronic pressure ulcers are, a lot of you already know what bed sores are, and we normally associate bed sores with elderly people who aren't turned in hospital beds and who don't have the circulation or the ability to know when they need to move. And so then their skin breaks down and their muscle tissue can break down, and they can be incredibly hard to heal. And it can also, just in terms of the financial bit alone, it can run in, I think there's something like $200 billion a year or something like that on the pressure ulcer, in terms of pressure ulcer care. So it's a really big deal. But with me, I'm young and healthy. But despite that, because of the atrophy of my body from not moving and the lack of circulation and sitting in a wheelchair all day, I've had a number of these pressure ulcers over the years, starting in 2000. I've spent over 2 years of my life completely immobilized in hospital beds. I've spent more than that in and out of bed at home, having my life severely impacted in terms of what I can do because my actions and abilities are so limited by needing to heal. And it's caring for these things is something that has to remain top of mind all the time. It is a constant burden. It's like the thing that never goes away. And the medical establishment basically doesn't have any answers for it. They say either get some type of a surgery. I've already had a number of different surgeries. They've moved muscle tissue around. It's incredibly invasive, and it takes a toll on your body. At this stage of the game, I've had so many surgeries that there's really not any additional surgeries that can be done. The other piece of advice is basically, okay, well, you're just going to have to lie down 24 hours a day and be completely bedridden until they go away, because you just take all of the pressure off them and lie down. Now, that is the most reductionist kind of insane way of thinking, because what they're not considering is that I'm an independent guy who runs a business. I have to stay healthy. That doing so would destroy my business. It would destroy my health. It would be impossible. So there's this kind of, it's sort of being between a rock and a hard place in terms of how to move forward from this place. And yet at the same time, I know that there are existing technologies and existing therapies out there, which when combined in a novel new approach can potentially, and I'm sure I have the confidence, will heal my body. It just takes the money to be able to do so, the money, the resources, and the commitment. Things like stem cells and peptide therapies, cold laser therapy, which I'm doing. And just next week, I'm going to Colorado to get a seating orthotic made, which will remove all of the pressure from where I normally bear pressure in my wheelchair. And that's a $10,000 device, but it will replace my wheelchair cushion. So I can go on, and I will go on, and I'll answer every question that you have. But I also want to introduce Sean, because Sean and I have been friends for probably about 3.5 years, something like that. And Sean had a stroke 10 years ago. Sean lives in Tarzana, California. Sean had a stroke 10 years ago from a Brazilian jiu-jitsu accident, caused a clot in his carotid artery, which escaped to his brain and stroked him out. And after going through an incredible journey with his own rehabilitation, what he realized is that people with neurological injuries oftentimes don't have the resources that they need to continue their healing after they are let out of a hospital. And it's a lifelong process. When you have some sort of neurological injury, whether it be a stroke or a spinal cord injury, it's not just something that's sort of over and done. You deal with implications that last the rest of your life. And so Sean started the Move to Improve Foundation to raise funds for people who have had neurological injuries to get some additional help to be able to pursue their own healing objectives after insurance runs out and they're no longer able to be cared for by the medical system. So I wanted to turn it over to Sean now to talk about your experience and elaborate on why you started Move to Improve. And I so appreciate the fact that you have focused Move to Improve on my healing process and also on me establishing a protocol for other people with spinal cord injuries to help them to heal from their wounds as well. Shawnee, you want to take it? Oh, you're muted. Shawnee, you're still muted.
So, okay, I'm back.
Sure, you're sounding great, man.
But. Thank you, Sam, for those words. Yeah, gentlemen, as you all know, it's a tough way back for guys like Sam and I. You know, someone will get a bruise on their shoulder or their elbow or their foot. They'll take some Tylenol and they'll let it heal. With a brain injury or spinal cord injury, it does not heal by itself. And that our doctors were great; they saved our lives. Our surgeons were fantastic, but the medical system failed us because the medical system broke down. Because once we were post-acute care, no one knew what to do. You know, it's like, okay, we have so many hours to learn to walk again. How many hours do I need to walk? It could be some people, it could be 20, it could be 100, it could be thousands. It's like to use their mobilities. And my whole goal is to get people back to becoming independent. And no matter what goes on with that person, I want to cover all their care. And really what this started with, you know, I was in Santa Barbara at the time when the surgeon got to me, but I moved back down to San Diego, where I was living at the time in the middle of the military Mecca, where the Marines, the Navy, the SEALs were all there. And I was in rehab for, gosh, I want to say probably for a 6 or 10 week stunt, in and out of inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, just working on my voice box, working on everything from walking, just being able to become independent, use the bathroom myself, because I didn't even know how to do all that. So things had to be reprogrammed. But I remember, you pair up in groups, and one of the groups I was in was a Marine who just had gotten back from the War on Terror, and him and I were buddied up together. And this guy lost an arm and a leg from an IED, and he became my friend. And then I learned, really, how could I be in so much pain and suffer for what I'm going through when this poor kid is in his 20s, just lost his arm and leg, and he's got to go back home to his wife and kid. And I come back in there probably maybe week 4, and I said to my therapist, where's Johnny, our Marine? She goes, well, the VA discharged him. And I'm like, he's not ready to go back home. I can barely talk myself. I'm like, I got so upset because here he is at 26, going back home, not being in the right mental mind, not being in the right physical mind, and the VA just sends him back home because he can use the bathroom himself. How do you do that? And so I got angry, I got pissed off, and I got inspired to set, I'm going to build a nonprofit, not even knowing how I was going to do it, just trusting in the universe and surrendering to it. That I created the Move to Improve Foundation really to provide the therapies, and the therapies could be physical therapy, they could be occupational therapy, speech therapy, psychology. It can be anything any gut-related health issues, diet, nutrition, anything that's going to make that person sustainable, so we can reintegrate those people, those military, back with their families, and let them be independent again. Because not being able to drive a car or to be with your children and do what you want to do is really, it's horrible. And then it causes suicide. And if you're in so much pain, the suicide rate goes way up amongst disability and our veterans. I think our veterans right now, we have 100 a day right now killing themselves. And that's unacceptable. And I talk to people about a lot of times disability, we're like the forgotten people. And I've been making a statement because I built my own community dealing with stroke injury, stroke survivors, and brain injury survivors. That when Sam I've been on Sam's, no pun intended, I've been on Sam's ass for 3 years to get these things fixed. But time and money and energy takes a lot of prep work. And
that's where those from.
What?
You said you've been on his ass for so long.
Yeah,
that's where it came from.
Well, exactly. It's kind of funny because we're friends,
this isn't Ask Me Anything, of course.
This isn't Ask Me Anything. So, I've been one fighting for Sam because, with Sam, he's like, I'll just handle it. I'll deal with it myself. But you can't deal with this up because he's got these open sores that if they get, if something will go through them, they can attack his body. And Sam just came out of the hospital. He was bedridden for 77 days, Sam. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
77 days. And we, I want to say we almost lost him this last time, and he battled through it. And I want to get these wounds healed. I want to get him back to doing what he's doing. Sorry, my camera keeps falling. And that's kind of my mission is just, I want to give back. I want to be a cause for transformation for people who need it. And Sam's our guy. We need to get this through and this past so he can go ahead and do what he does best, which is coaching people. And standing,
Johnny, can you tilt your camera a little bit?
I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, I'm having issues from 6 in the morning. Is that better?
That's better. That's much better.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
there we go.
Perfect. There you go.
So, anyways, that's most of you guys will know my story and know Sam, but now it's time, as someone said, it's time for SOS, Save Our Sam. And that's what I want to do with this. I want to get him back on. I want to be healthy because Sam does so much for every one of us on this call right now. To know Sam is to love Sam. And that's really what it is. Sam's filled with love, and we can't afford for him to be on the injured reserve any longer. We need to get him back on the field and playing with us.
Yeah, and I don't believe in fear-based thinking, but it is a fact that pressure ulcers are the #1 cause of death for people with spinal cord injuries. So that's I'm not trying to instill fear in anyone, but I am trying to sort of just educate and use my own situation to educate and give you a little bit of context for this. Normally people with spinal cord injuries tend to have, I believe, a 20% less longevity than your typical able-bodied person. I might be wrong about that, but it's something like that. And the #1 cause of death is pressure ulcers. They get infected, and it takes, they can become, the infection can turn into sepsis, and then your organs shut down. And so we want to avoid that. We want to just get this handled. And really also, again, I want to emphasize that this is something where I really want to be able to establish a protocol and use my platform through Metal and through my network that I have existing to say, look, this can be done. You don't have to lie down in bed 24 hours a day for years for these things to heal properly. If you eat well, take care of your nutrition, get proper nutrition, get stem cell therapy, get completely offload in terms of your cushioning, etc. This is how to heal. and I know this is possible. I absolutely know this is possible. But our current paradigm of how we tend to think about these things is so myopic. It's sort of go this sort of traditional route of either surgery or being completely bedridden, and those just simply aren't options that work. I'd love to open it up to questions. Anyone who has any kind of questions at all, feedback, anything that I have heard, if you have ideas about various therapies and so forth, I want to say I probably already have heard about the therapy that you might suggest, or if you have a different idea of a cushion or whatever, like I don't mean to shut you down, but I've most likely already researched it. So that side I get, but any questions that you have?
Hey, Sam, Alex, Sam, Sean, it's Alex here. Hey, how do you intend to use the fundraising? I mean, what's your focus?
The fundraising is going to primarily be focused on stem cell therapy, on new custom wheelchair, on my custom seating orthotic, nutritional supplements, cold laser therapy, potentially hyperbaric therapy. There's a number of different therapeutic approaches and technologies that I'm going to employ. Chris, you had a question.
Actually, more of, yeah, I mean, I know the background, Sam and Sean, both of you. I love you guys. I just want to know directly, what can we do to help? I mean, I'm sure, by the way, Sean, one of the things I admire about you, Sam, is you're wide open to all the different suggestions from so many people, and you're so receptive. And I know you got a lot of that. So how may I serve you, sir?
The best way right now, especially that is relevant to this call right now, is if you are a Super Doge holder already, to vote for M2I, which is Move to Improve, on this current voting opportunity, so that we can be put up into the #1 slot to receive the charitable donations from Super Doge in this round. If you don't have Super Doge already, I or Keith or Jerry can guide you through that process on how to purchase Super Doge. Keith and Jerry have made it incredibly easy to do, and now the minimum buy-in is only a $5 minimum buy-in. Is that correct, Keith and Jerry? Is that?
Yeah. So after talking with the founder of Super Doge and just kind of careful consideration, we really didn't want to put that hurdle on anything. I mean, obviously, as a project, we love that influx, but at the end of the day, our main focus is the charities. So we wanted to open that door. So if you all have $5 worth of Super Doge or 10,000, 100,000, it doesn't matter. You're able to kind of put your voice in there, and we want that to be heard. So I'll also kind of just chime in here on how that works. So how the charity votes work is we do this about every 3 months. Originally, we had 3 charities that would split a 2% transaction fee kind of donation. So every buy, sell transaction of Super Doge, it's smart contracted in to go to the charity wallets as donations, and it's actually smart contracted to go to them in BNB, which allows, so it doesn't affect the project, but it allows them to have that available to cash out right then and there if they need it. If they want to save it up till the end, they can do that, but it gives the charity the freedom to do what they need to go forward with what their mission is. This time we changed it a little bit, where we actually are just going for one charity. The other 2 wallets, just for the meantime, are going to marketing and liquidity. And the reason being is we feel with this next round, if we're able to support the one charity and focus these other wallets towards growing and expanding this cause, by the next voting round, we're going to have a lot more behind us to push that, showcase these charities and help that. So it should increase the volume. It should help. But every transaction, buy, sell, or transfer, a portion of that does go to the charity winner. And one thing that I really appreciate myself being able to kind of meet Sam and Sean here through this is 100%. I really believe in looking outside of the box for health. I have another world where I'm out of, and it's into the natural health industry, from mental to physical to energy healing to cannabis to to basically a lot of different categories. And I've seen so many misjustices in the healthcare system being there. We're really there's a lot of access, there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of tools out there that can help people naturally without putting them on some pills or without doing this, and with some hope. And the thing that I really appreciate about Sam and Sean is these guys motivate. These guys are teaching people. They're here to help people actually learn the skills, putting health into their own hands, rather than just listening to the one or two people that are kind of pigeonholed by the healthcare system. And I believe that if they can transition that motivation, drive, and ambition that they have for Sam and Sean alone, that's going to change lives dramatically. And I feel that truly. I guess I've been on the other side with the healthcare system for over 6-7 years. So I've really gotten to see the inner workings of it, and for what these guys are doing and what Move to Improve is able to accomplish with a real world applications and protocol, it's life changing. And it might not be seen right now, but it's something that will affect so many people. And that's what excites me about Move to Improve, and in this case, as well as helping a good human.
I want to piggyback on top of that, Keith, too, and just mention that about 6 months ago or so, I'd been dealing with some of these ulcers. I've been dealing with them on and off for the past 20 plus years, 21 years. But this most recent series of ulcers I'd been dealing with for about 4 to 5 years, open wounds, some of them down to the bone. And I was starting to feel pretty damn depressed about it. Like, God damn it. Like, the thing that was always on my mind every moment of every day, just plaguing my psyche. And something shifted when I tapped into something a little bit different. I said, okay, I need a new perspective on this. And as I asked for that, I asked the universe for that, and I realized, oh, this is not happening. I mean, this is classic. We hear this all the time in the sort of personal development world. This is not happening to me. This is happening for me. And not only is this not just happening for me, this is happening for the world. This is actually something where me having to go through some temporary suffering is actually something that is catalyzing something greater. And some opportunity is emerging from this. It has to do with either establishing a new protocol for people healing from pressure ulcers. And then there's all these other intangibles in terms of how my healing can impact the greater community. And when I started to tap into that, I started to get a whole other kind of energy around this and realized, oh, this is what's going on. This is just, I'm on a mission here. It's not a mission I would have chosen. It's certainly not something my ego would have chose, but it's something that I have been asked from some higher power, the universe, God, however you want to see it. I am being chosen to go through this because I have a substantial enough platform that my healing will impact a lot of people beyond me. And when I started orienting around that, a lot shifted internally for me. And that's also how I was able to come through this 77 days recently of being bedridden and look and feel as good as I do, because I shifted. I came from that perspective of, this is not for me, this is for the whole. This is my way of serving.
Is specifically about SuperDoge holders. If we have a rookie card and we're like do you get more votes for being?
Yeah. So sorry to cut you off. The top rookie card holders. So the rookie cards come from being a top 100 holder in the SuperDoge project. And these guys have a lot of them been there from the start. A lot of them have come in throughout the gate or throughout the journey. But yeah, you get 2 votes as a rookie card holder. That is one of the benefits for sure.
And can you post in the chat the vote that we're supposed to cast? Like the name and the number and everything, just in case. Because I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, so basically all you have to do is connect your MetaMask wallet to this link I'm going to throw in right now, and then the charities will pop up. I believe actually Move to Improve is at the top there. But you'll go through. It'll have a very clear thing. You hit vote and confirm because for that, and that's it. It's really simple. So it's something that we didn't want to overcomplicate for sure.
What you got for us?
I've got gratitude and thank you. I mean, I just feel the love and energy that we all have for you. So it's wonderful to feel this ball of love for you, you know? I wanted to ask you some
On the
clarifying questions.
receiving end, it's pretty extraordinary too.
Yeah, well, you know, you got a little picture of it behind you. Aside from wanting you to play guitar for part of your appeal for all of our support and attention, there's something that you and I talked about that you mentioned today. And what I, you know, with Mick Ebling on Metal this morning, for those of you that were there today, I was like, this is so not impossible. And what it is in me that, well, why has this been a 6-month conversation with Metal when everyone sees that there may be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people today that will benefit from you overcoming this and the solutions that you come up with? Then if we can tell that story to each other in Metal, then it's not about the money. It's about the experience that we're creating. And then the money flows into that through the people relating to the idea of like, oh my God, oh, this is just for that poor guy, Sam, to, my God, Sam really represents literally 1 million people we can help with just one button. Let's do that, because then that's the thought that we want everyone to have. And that's the not impossible that just creates this like expression that I'm wondering why. I guess the question is, and that's just my kind of reaction to what you said, but the why is it that we and Metal haven't had that reaction? And what can we do in this discourse to change the way we relate to our collective experience with each other to make this a no-brainer? Because it's not just about whatever the perception is that the person is that is reacting to, whatever their reaction is to what you're saying, right? So thank you. That was my attempt at being succinct.
Thank you. Well, I don't claim to know the answer to why, but I do know that the correlation between something as easy as making a minimal investment in SuperDoge and setting up a MetaMask wallet if you don't already have one, and then clicking vote and doing so for a minimal investment, knowing that that can potentially help as many people as that. I think that that correlation between a minimum effort and a huge result is something that's very appealing. Jay.
Hey, Sam.
Jay Levin.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So just as Sam has, God gave him a platform for developing this, God denied me a platform for understanding the whole process of coin and everything that's technically involved here. I'm actually looking at your website. I'm going to see the instructions on how to buy more. I have a sum now. I'd like to know how to vote it, and I guess I might need Jerry to show me how to walk through this, buy some more. Yeah.
So Keith has just thrown the website up into the chat, superdoge.io/vote. As long as you have a wallet, a MetaMask wallet connected to your SuperDoge, then you can vote straight from that website that Keith has just put in the chat.
Chris and everybody. So Sean's along the same lines, but Sean's got a little bit more, I think, deeper understanding on, he's got a product called Redux. Hey, Sean, want to explain to these guys what you do and who you are, and a little bit about ASEA and how we're getting Sam started on it.
Are you muted?
You're muted, Sean. You're muted, Sean.
That's better. That'll help. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, I've known Sean since high school. Am I unmuted? I'm
Yep.
good. Okay. And I've been, working with different technologies over the last 27 years as a health and fitness coach, and getting into traditional Chinese medicine and other modalities. and into different type of electromagnetic technologies. But one of the technologies I work closely with is a cell signaling product called ASEA, which basically helps to amplify and clarify cell signaling so that when there is an issue in the body, the immune system is able to hear the problem so it can send in reinforcements to go fix it. So one of the things that I'm working with Sam on that we're about to start is taking this product to hopefully help them do that so that those ulcers have a chance to heal and to close.
Yeah. One of the challenges with chronic pressure ulcers is basically after a few months that it's almost like the body kind of starts to ignore it and essentially says, you know what, this is not healable. And so we're going to shut down our process of trying to heal it. So it needs to be stimulated. Not only does it need to be offloaded, but it needs to be stimulated by new signaling. And that's part of the project here. And that's part of what gets overlooked in a traditional model. You don't stimulate anything if you have someone lying down 24/7 and they're just bedridden and waiting for something to happen. It just doesn't happen. So, it's kind of weird that the medical system doesn't update. But I think we've all heard a lot of anecdotes at this point about the way in which these systems and protocols take a long time to update. And it's intelligent people like us who put our heads together and find new ways of making what was previously impossible possible. Any other questions from anyone?
I just threw
Well,
something.
maybe
Go ahead.
this, I'm sorry, but having no familiarity other than listening over the last month or two, this will provide an interesting on-ramp to go through the process for a worthy cause. So I realize now that MetaMask is on my computer, figuring out how to use it and go through the steps is what I'll be trying to do and drawing down on Kerry, Keith's, and Sean's input, thankfully, going forward.
I appreciate
and
that,
then
Alan. Thank you.
Part of this too, guys, with the journey is I'd like to document or video or film Sam's recovery, because once we get these wounds healed up and closed, Sam can now take this protocol and really then begin to help the thousands of people who really need it, because it's going to be a game changer right here. Because once Sam gets healed, he's going to start talking about it. It's going to leak to everywhere.
Sean, great to see you guys. So good.
Thank you, Alex. So appreciate your
You
support.
got my votes. You got my
Thank
votes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.